Hey everybody, and welcome back to America's Heroes. So this week, right before the release of Star Wars The Force Awakens, we've decided to do a video on all things Star Wars. And today with me we have Earl, the owner of the store, America's Heroes. How you doing, Earl?
Pretty good.
Pretty good. And one of my best friends here, Chris, who's one of the best and biggest Star Wars nerds that I personally know.
Not really.
No?
Just a little.
Just a little.
Just
Yeah,
a little.
He's humble. He's way humble. So, guys, with the Star Wars all talk, how were you guys first introduced to Star Wars? Earl?
I remember seeing the lines at the movie theaters back in '77 when it came out. And unfortunately, my dad wouldn't wait in line for 4 or 5 hours to go see it. So I eventually ended up seeing all three in a row when they came out on home video back in the late '80s.
Cool. So, Chris, what about you?
I saw him, I'd say home video. Saw him on VHS back in the early 90s.
If you guys know what that is.
Yeah, so that's when I was introduced to him, and then was able to see him re-released in the theaters. Well, the originals re-released into the theaters
Before
the mid-90s.
Before George got his hands on them again.
Yeah.
With the
Yeah.
special features, all that crap. Yeah. See, I was first introduced back in 2001, I think. Episode 1 had first come out on VHS. I didn't know anything about Star Wars at that time. Only knew maybe the Legos for the first movie. So my dad showed me that, the first one. I loved it, but as time went on, I started to not like it as much. And after that, I watched 4, 5, and 6. Loved those. Those are probably my favorite of the entire series so far. Alright, let's get into the original trilogy. So, the story for Star Wars is pretty interesting. It's involving a galactic civil war. It's a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. So, it's the past future in some other world. It's not a science fiction genre like Star Trek would be. It's a fantasy genre. So it's time of civil war, and the Empire is pursuing the Rebel Alliance because they got their hands on the Death Star schematics. So what was your guys' favorite part about the first episode, or for us the first episode, or in chronological order, episode 4, A New Hope?
Vader.
Vader?
Vader, he was just... as a kid, I mean, as I saw it as an adult. So as a kid, Vader looked cooler. Luke just seemed like he complained a lot.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't get his way and stuff. But that was an adult. I mean, as a kid, I know everybody, looked up to Luke. They may have been about 8 or 10 when they first saw it. Then, a few years later, you end up getting Empire. And they're a little bit older, so they start looking at Vader a different way. But I like Vader. Vader he didn't take any crap.
He's the best villain in pop culture history so far. Chris, what do you think?
I agree. I agree. When I first saw New Hope, Vader came on the screen. I mean, that was little back then. And I was probably, when I see it, maybe 5 or 6, when I first saw the movies. He was so intimidating when he came out. It was just like, that's a villain.
Did he scare you?
No.
No.
But he just had that factor where you knew he was the bad guy. He had this presence about himself where most villains in most movies, it's just, he's the bad guy. Okay.
Yeah.
But Vader was just like,
you did something wrong?
yeah, I'm the boss,
And casting James Earl Jones as the voice for Darth Vader, perfect, right on the money.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it did.
Yeah, I definitely loved Vader as a kid. I think Han is possibly the best character besides Vader in the series. Luke, really whiny in the beginning, definitely takes after his father. Leia, very, very headstrong. Probably one of the most headstrong women in pop culture history. I think my favorite scene for the first episode, or for episode 4, would have to be definitely when Han shot first, because once you saw that, you know he didn't take any crap from anyone. He just, you're in my way, shooting you down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What was your favorite scene or dialogue from episode 4? Or did you have one?
I actually like the scene when they show up to the where the stormtroopers are checking everybody, and Obi-Wan is just like, you know, you don't need to see our identification. You know, these aren't the droids you're looking for. That's an iconic line from the movie, and I just thought that was really cool, and it really showed you about the Force, you know, what it can do. I mean, just taking control of the weak-minded. And it's just like, okay, that's the first step of the Force.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed that scene.
For New Hope, I would say when Vader shows up.
When he first shows
At
up?
the very beginning of the movie, when he first shows up, when he just walks through the door. I mean, out of those movies, A New Hope never really was one of them that I watched often. It was probably my least favorite out of the original.
Yeah, the original trilogy.
Yes, and I don't know. For me, it was always like slow paced and everything. I never really had a favorite scene outside of that one where Vader shows up. To me, it's a setup for the rest of the movies.
Oh,
That's just how it comes across to me. Whenever I watched it when I was younger, I was like, "All right, that's done. So let's see what's next."
Yeah, it is the start of the adventure, the universe builder. So I guess I can see what Lucas was doing with making it a bit slow pace, and really for the budget he had, and really going over budget, he made one heck of a film.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And one of the facts about it was, he back then in '77, merchandising rights were nothing. Studios didn't want them.
Yeah.
So he told him, he said, well, look, y'all are going to have the films. I'll have the merchandising rights. They're like, okay.
The best decision he ever made.
Yep.
Yeah.
Makes
Amazing.
millions. Yeah, so going straight from that into The Empire Strikes Back, possibly one of the best films in cinematic history, going straight from, yay, we won, the Death Star is destroyed, to absolute hell. The Rebel Alliance is on Hoth. The Empire is just brutally hunting them down from base to base. It's been about 3 years from this point, from episode 3 to episode 4 to episode 5. What did you guys think of the first scene, the first act with the rebels on Hoth?
Thought it was great. You know, Luke was out in the cold on his own, frozen pretty much, you know. And then, you know, they tell him, you know, you can't go out there. And Han's just like, you know, that's my friend. I'm going to go out there and get him. So that shows you the camaraderie there. And then when he gets out there and, you know, he has to cut open his tauntaun and sleep in it and everything. And then actually Luke hanging upside down and, you know,
Yeah,
being able to use the Force to get his lightsaber.
One of the few times he used the Force.
Yeah.
Movie. Yeah.
The Wampa comes at him and he just cuts the arm off.
I think in the original version, with the one where we don't see the actual creature from the cave, I think that actually made it more scary
Right.
than what we got in the special features.
I really like the fact that they used that he had like frostbite and injuries to cover up the fact that he had gotten in that, Mark Hamill had gotten in that bad car accident when they weren't filming Star Wars. They were doing Corvette Summer, and he had to have some facial surgery, so that explained why he had like scars and stuff.
My initial thoughts for that scene, was it, I like the scene because it shows that they've actually continued that the first one wasn't the end, where they started celebrating and, hey, we're on a whole different planet here, we're like what's going on? And then you still see they're all still together, so obviously they all stuck together, and they're just like, okay, we're still going against the Empire and whatever else. But I like the scene when Luke is hanging upside down there, and he uses the Force to get the lightsaber, and it's like, wait a minute, he never taught him how to do that, so he's actually been doing something here.
I know. I think this definitely shows us how much the Empire is really gunning for these people. Because in the opening crawl, it says Vader's searching for the young Skywalker. And one of the things that I think detracted from the special features is that George Lucas changed the dialogue between Vader and the first time we saw the Emperor, because in the special features, he changed it so that Vader didn't know that Luke's last name was Skywalker. In the original version, I believe he already knew what it was, so it gave him a bit more knowledge as to who it was and actually let him know that it was his son, though we really didn't know that Vader was Luke's father until the very end of the movie. So, going off of Hoth, I think the Empire Strikes Back gives us one of the best characters in all of Star Wars history, Yoda. That little dude, man, he's probably one of the most powerful characters and Jedi in history. Him lifting the X-Wing, that showed how badass he really was. What did you guys think of them introducing Yoda as a new Jedi, and what do you think of Luke's training on Dagobah?
Luke, I think he thought that he could actually just go out there and, I'm a Jedi. That, this guy's 800 years old, things are different now, I don't have to listen to him. Mm-hmm. Not the case. I mean, he didn't know this at the time, but his father had studied under Yoda and Obi-Wan and, the council and everything. And I just thought he was a little too cocky about it. And Yoda put him in his place a few times, especially whenever he lifted up the X-Wing out of the water. And then when he told him to go into the cave and he didn't need his weapon.
Yeah, the nightmare scene.
Of course, he goes in and, the Vader helmet pops open, it's Luke's face.
Foreshadowing of what could happen.
Mm-hmm.
Thoughts?
I thought it was an interesting scene. I liked when, probably my favorite part of that scene was when he went into the cave and then cuts it off, and it cuts off his head, and there's his face in it.
Yeah.
And that kind of freaked me out when I was a kid watching the movie. I was like, what?
Yeah.
What's going on here?
Yeah, I actually didn't understand that scene until just recently when I actually read the book, the Wrath of Thrawn, the first book to come out of the Star Wars series, in the Legends universe now that it's called. But yeah, I definitely like that they introduced Yoda, a new face to the Jedi, and then going off of that, they introduced one of the best love stories in all of history, Han and Leia. Those couple can definitely take the prize for best couple of the year.
Yeah, that one took a turn for the better, because it was going to take a turn for the worst.
Oh, yes. What was the original script?
No idea, but when if you knew that they were brother and sister, when she just laid that kiss on Luke, and she called him a scruffy nerf herder, and you're like, ugh. But hey, it was in a galaxy far, far away a long time ago, so different things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought Empire was by far the best.
Yeah, I agree. I think Empire Strikes Back is the best out of the entire Star Wars franchise. Well, yeah. We'll have to wait to see the new one, but I don't know. It'll probably still be the best one. And going back to Han, I think in Empire Strikes Back, he became my favorite character out of the entire series, just off of that one movie, and then how
he ended the movie.
Like how arrogant and cocky he is.
Yeah.
He's still a good guy and stuff, and yet he's like, because that part where Leia's like, "Oh, I love you," and he's like, "I know," and then he just goes down, and it's just like, huh.
Also thinking of the scene from The Family Guy. They did.
Yeah.
And when they ended up on the asteroid inside the giant's mouth,
worm.
and they were inside of him, I'm like, that was a cool scene too. I really enjoyed that. They're like, ugh.
C-3PO just ruins it. Yeah, definitely, especially when Vader was first revealed to be Luke's father, I was like, what the F is going on? Lucas, you got balls.
So that's where that scene in the cave finally made sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Was once you like, because at first you're like, wait, what's going on here? Vader can't be Luke. What's going on? And then it finally, like, at the end, I'm your father. And it's like, oh.
It's just the way he screams.
It's like, yeah.
He's like, no. And I'm like, oh. Then he lets go and he falls down the shaft. And I'm like, that's pretty interesting. Then he hits and slides down. I'm like, gravity works different on the Death Star. Wait, I mean, on the Star Destroyer.
Yeah, and originally Han was supposed to die in episode 5 as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the original script was he was frozen in carbonite and didn't work, so he died and that was the end of it. But they changed that, and going into episode 6, they start the rescue mission on Tatooine. In the first time we get to see Jabba the Hutt, he was not in episode 4. In special editions, he was in episode 4. He was not in that. First time we get to see the gangster Jabba the Hutt. Now, for me, episode 6, it's kind of a hit and miss for most people. I thought it was pretty decent. The Ewoks, I really don't care. I think they could have been great as Wookiees. I like them as Ewoks, but I don't mind them as Ewoks. I'm not one of the Ewok haters.
It's way better than Jar Jar Binks, man.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely still better than Jar Jar.
People look at the Ewoks as all cute and cuddly. If you watch the movie, they had Han. They were gonna eat him.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's they're these little cannibals.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever see the Ewoks movie? The
No,
spin-off?
not the movie. I haven't seen that.
Oh, you
one.
gotta watch the spin-off. It's actually a really good movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not Star Wars level, but it's a good movie.
Seen the Christmas special?
Yes. 'Cause I'd seen the Ewoks movie before I ever saw any of the Star Wars movies. And then once I watched Return of the Jedi, and then they were there on Endor, and you see the Ewoks, I'm like, wait a minute!
Yeah, I know the Ewoks movie's out. Never seen it.
Oh, it's a great movie.
Yeah.
When little Ewok gets shot, and the other thing.
Oh, it was so depressing.
Oh,
I was
that
like,
was.
the most depressing thing ever.
It's like, no.
It's like, oh, but an hour earlier they were wanting to eat Han.
Oh, what do they call the? What is Jar Jar? What is he?
He's a Gungan.
Gungans, yeah. Whenever the Gungans died, I was like, yes! I was like, alright, I didn't care. But the Ewoks, it's like, oh, that's depressing.
Gungans were the stereotypical black men. They really were.
Yeah, that's the sad thing about it.
Yeah, I think my favorite scene for episode 6 would have to be the last scene, the fight with Vader and Luke. That really does show that even though you are on the dark side, you can still turn back to good.
Right, you can still come back from the darkness.
Yeah. So what was your guys' favorite part of episode 6?
Ooh.
Actually, the beginning scene where they go to Jabba's palace, and Luke at the end of Empire, you realize, Luke is Vader's son, and he's all really upset about this and everything. He walks into Jabba's palace like he's, the boss.
Mm-hmm.
He just walks in and tried to use the Jedi mind trick on him, and Jabba's like, oh.
That won't work on me.
Yeah, and then, and Luke's just cool throughout the entire thing. And I think that's where the character finally turned that corner for me, for being a serious character. And he grew out of that kid, being that kid. And the Rancor fight was awesome, too.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, Leia, everything, they're getting captured and taken out on the skiff and everything with Boba Fett and the Sarlacc. But yeah, I love that beginning scene.
I agree. I think Tatooine was the best scene in that. Well, the whole of Tatooine was the best in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
I do like the indoor scene and the last scene on the
Death Star.
New Death Star and everything, I'd still have to say Tatooine was the better scene because of all the characters you have in play. You also have Luke, you got Han, Leia, and Lando.
You got Boba Fett
Fett's
as well.
and Jabba the Hutt. You see her kill Jabba the Hutt. That's where I think Leia also came into her own. Basically like, no, I'm not just a damsel in distress. I'm going to kill a giant worm.
I'm someone who can actually do something.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, Episode 6 was definitely one of the best Star Wars movies, besides Empire Strikes Back.
I think,
Yeah.
I think the ending where they changed it from being, elder Anakin to being the younger Anakin, that's just a travesty.
It's a cop-out.
It really is. It's just so bad.
It's like, it doesn't matter when you fell, it matters if you did good in your final moment, or at least for Jedi.
You ever get the sense that when the Emperor was coming on the new Death Star, and you'd see Vader, even though he had his mask on and everything, under the mask he's like, why is he here? We don't need him.
Yeah.
Like Vader was getting tired of his crap too.
Yeah. I didn't like how they changed Anakin at that last scene either.
Yeah,
Because each time I see him, I'm just like, hey, isn't that the same one that killed all the younglings and everything?
Yeah,
It's
this
like,
guy's...
yeah.
I hate Hayden Christensen.
And he was a horrible actor, too.
Apparently Jake Lloyd now does not even want to talk about it.
Really?
Star Wars, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't even think he acts anymore or
No.
anything.
I haven't seen him in anything. And going with that, let's go into episode 1.
Oh boy.
Possibly...
Do we have to?
Well, it is the second best of the prequel trilogy.
That's saying a lot.
But still, even though the prequel trilogy was not very good, you still had to give George Lucas and John Williams credit. The soundtracks, the scores for the movies are phenomenal.
Yeah,
You really have to give them that. I do think that the first episode, episode 1, Phantom Menace, was just a waste. It really did not need to happen. Though I think it gave us one of the most cooler Sith, Darth Maul.
Oh yeah. The best thing about that movie.
Total waste, too. Just cut him in half right at the end.
Best thing about the movie's Darth Maul, the worst thing is they killed him at the end.
Yeah.
Thankfully, canonically, he is alive.
Well, it's only if you watch the cartoons.
Yeah.
So, half of us don't.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't really say anything good about this movie.
The pod racing scenes look good.
Yeah, I guess that was the only good thing about the movie.
I think some of the downfalls of the movie was trying to explain the Force with the midi-chlorians and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's like,
That's
you
horrible.
could have just left it a mystery. You don't have to explain that to us. We've already accepted it.
Yeah.
So
It's too much like Scientology.
It really is. It really is.
Yeah, I think the midichlorians just... It really was George Lucas trying to go to the next level, trying to over-explain things. And then with Anakin just being so young, I think it definitely would have helped if he was more of a teen in his mid-teens or late teens. That way Yoda would have had even more of a reason to refuse him, and he would have been more attached to his mother, given more of a reason why he went to the dark side.
Yeah.
Let's just skip episode 1.
Yeah.
Episode 2. Wow. I like that they did it.
Skip it.
I like that they did it, but here's an interesting thing about episode 2. In a deleted scene, it gave us a bit more information on why Shmi was killed. It gave us a bit more depth into Anakin, why he actually turned and became more enraged. In a deleted scene, it was revealed that it was Count Dooku that that actually influenced the Tusken Raiders to raid the Lars homestead and capture Shmi and just kill her. So it gave us a bit more information on Anakin, which I think actually would have worked, would have helped a bit more. I think Count Dooku lacked quite a bit.
Well, yeah, I mean, he was an old man.
Yeah.
After you bring out the total awesomeness that is Darth Maul,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought they were going to bring him back. Because I'm like, okay, he's a Sith. I don't know if you want to call him a Sith Lord. After you bring that back, okay, you cut him in half. I was thinking he was going to come back. Maybe, okay, I'm going to pull myself back together because wasn't, what's his name? Sidious Master.
Plagueis, Darth Plagueis.
Now, he was the one who had the longevity in life. He knew how to cause himself to live forever. So then Sidious would know how to do that. And you think Sidious would teach Maul how to do that. So then you think he would just be like, okay, I'm just going to pull myself back together and, you know, live longer. You're going to have to decapitate me to actually kill me.
Yeah.
So, but that doesn't happen. And then you just give us this really old man who all of a sudden can beat
Yoda.
both Anakin and Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan beat Darth Maul.
Mm-hmm.
It makes no sense.
And they're all flipping
The
around and
logic-
everything.
Logic
Like,
makes no sense at
what
all.
the world's going on here?
At the time that I saw this, I liked the Yoda versus Count Dooku fight,
Mm-hmm.
but I grew to hate it because Yoda uses a lightsaber, and in Episode 5 he just demonstrates how much more powerful he is using the Force than an actual lightsaber. I thought it was a bit of a cheap shot to give him one of those. I would have liked to see more of a battle of the Force, more of the knowledge of the Force, like
Mm-hmm.
Count Dooku said. They just had one little spat. He said, "Guess we can't win this with our knowledge of the Force, but our skills with a lightsaber. Like, we only had 2 little spats with the Force. That's it. Call it quits." I didn't think that was cool.
I didn't like turning Boba Fett into a clone. All of a sudden, Boba Fett's a clone. We
Yeah.
should never reference that in the original series or anything. And then all of a sudden, here's this Jango Fett. Like, okay, who's that? And all of a sudden, you have a ton of them, and they're all clones.
Yeah.
And then, oh look, here's one made especially for me who's not going to age as fast, but he's still a clone.
Now, I like the
Call him
idea.
Boba.
I like the idea of the clones, but I don't like the idea of Boba Fett as a clone.
Yeah, I thought maybe that would have been his biological son.
Yeah,
So
that would have been
that
better.
would have made a lot more sense.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I just don't like that idea because you still have. Then basically you're telling me that later on in the later movies, the majority of these stormtroopers running around are clones, and if you got this one bounty hunter running around, that's the same thing. He's a clone. Why is he not controllable like all the others?
Yeah.
I just don't get it. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he doesn't have the same implant the others do. I don't know.
No, he doesn't. From what we found out in the actual new TV show, the Star Wars Rebels, many of the clones do actually still serve the Empire, but all the clones aren't the stormtroopers. It's just actual human beings. So it kind of makes sense why stormtroopers never fire very accurately.
Yeah, that does make sense.
But remember, only Imperial Stormtroopers are this accurate.
Yeah.
And then when you get to the end of the episode 4, they're like missing everything. I'm like, good one, Obi-Wan.
Yeah, to me it didn't make sense. Well, I guess we would end up jumping to the third movie.
Yeah.
And when they're like mowing down all the Jedi, all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, they're not accurate.
Yeah.
Didn't make sense.
Mhm. Yeah, so ending episode 2 was terrible. It was a terrible love story as well. Anakin and Padme.
Horrible.
Oh, man.
Like you could have taken 2 wooden mannequins and...
You'd had a better love story with doing man.
It was almost as bad as a Twilight love story.
Twilight love story.
Almost. It was. I think it was pretty much on the same level. It was
Yeah.
pretty bad.
You really just did not buy it. You didn't buy it. That this teen and this 20, almost 30-year-old woman are in love. Yeah. I can't buy that.
It happens these days. Look at some high schools.
Weirdly enough, it does.
Not when I was in school.
No. Now, going into episode 3, the best of the prequel trilogy, but still not lacking in its faults. They kill Count Dooku in the first scene. We get a bit more of a friendship with Anakin and Obi-Wan than we got in episode 2, but we also get to see the entire destruction of the Jedi Order as well. So, what did you guys enjoy and dislike about this movie?
I've only seen that one once, and I fell asleep before the big battle. It was at a midnight showing, so I was tired. So, the things that Anakin would do for a woman is unreal. He basically butchered a bunch of children. I don't care who you are, and no matter what you do, you're never going to get back on the good side of the Force doing that.
And in the original trilogy, they said he was the worst of the worst. He killed all the Jedi Masters. Here we only see him kill children.
But I thought it was a cool scene, though. He walks in, asked Anakin, what are we going to do? I'm like, oh, he didn't.
Yeah.
But I've heard that the fight scene at the end was really amazing.
It was good up to a point.
I think that was probably the best thing of the movie was the fight scene between Anakin and Obi-Wan. Because by that time you hated Anakin.
With a vengeance, you hated him. Yeah.
And then he basically ended up getting Mace Windu killed, even though,
Yeah.
You didn't really like him and not like him. He was just an character, but he still got him killed. And then it was pretty much, he was responsible for everybody dying, and then you really hated him, and then once Obi-Wan cuts his arm and legs off, and then it was kind of like, yes! It's the best scene in the movie.
Yeah. Even Mace Windu was starting to have just a bit of respect for Anakin when he told him that Palpatine was the Sith Lord. Just a bit. Then he betrayed him. Went downhill from there. Though I don't think Samuel L. Jackson should have been cast as Mace Windu. I didn't see him in the role very well. I just saw Samuel L. Jackson.
He's a way better Nick Fury.
Yes.
He really is. I did not like the Mace Windu character. A lot of the characters I just didn't like in that original series. And it's like some of the actors that you had, you kind of messed up their roles. Like with Natalie Portman, which is one of the best actresses right now, but you didn't give her the opportunity to prove it. Especially being opposite Hayden Christensen. I'm just like, you just messed that one up horribly.
It seemed like Sam Jackson was just Sam Jackson in Star Wars.
Yeah, like he is in just about every movie.
Yeah.
It's just
And him having a purple lightsaber is like, what's up with that?
Well, I think they specially made that for him.
Yeah.
They were just like, hey, what do you want? And they're like, oh, purple lightsaber. Okay. He kind of threw everything off. You're like, wait a minute, I thought there was only red, blue, and green. Huh, guess not anymore.
Apparently not.
But, oh well. For the movie, probably the other thing I really hated about the movie was how Obi-Wan killed General Grievous. He shoots him with a blaster. I mean, you're a Jedi. I wanted to see you kill him with your lightsaber.
I hated General Grievous' character
shoot him in the chest.
altogether.
Yeah, the character. For me, those original movies were way too CG animated. It just made it look fake. They didn't make it look because how real the original ones looked, especially using the models. And everything in the movie, and then you come back and you have all these complete CG movie, and then Grievous just looks fake, and it's just like he just looked like a cartoon character. He didn't have that intimidating factor like Darth Vader or Darth Maul. With your last two villains, it's basically the only thing intimidating was Anakin after he killed the kids. And that was it.
It's like the original lightsaber fights in episodes 4, 5, and 6. They were actually fencing with swords.
Yes.
But now, you're in air. You're holding a handle, and it's just, you don't get the same effect.
Yeah. No.
It was all way too choreographed. Plus, it didn't help that the scripts were terrible, and George Lucas really isn't an actor's director.
It was a cash grab.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it worked.
Mm-hmm. It's like faster, more intense.
Yeah.
That was his motto.
I think, you know, after episode 2 really bombed, a lot of people hated it. It had so much backlash when it came out that he tried to correct everything wrong with that movie in the third movie, but ended up not putting out a good movie just because he's trying to correct everything, get everybody to like it. Okay, we need more action. We need, you know, we need more intense scene between Anakin and Padme and stuff. But you're not. Kind of overdid it in trying to correct your failures. So.
And Padme's final scene, that was just atrocious. Her dying because she lost the will to live. I mean, at least you could have said,
he
Lucas.
Could have killed her.
He could have killed her, or
that would have been like, that would have really like put him over as a villain right there.
Yeah.
It's like he just loses all rage and anger and everything, and then somehow just kills her, like chokes her.
Anakin kills her, and Obi-Wan has to rush to save the babies.
He's like, shut up!
Yeah.
You're whining.
Yeah. If you'd have done something like that, I would've just...
You're breaking my heart.
And then the no.
Yeah.
I think the most disappointing thing though in that movie, Jar Jar didn't die. I was waiting for it the whole time. I'm like, okay, he's not in the rest of the movies. But then, oh wait, he is. Because at the end of Return of the Jedi,
the special features,
you hear the stupid voice that was put back into it. I was like, are you kidding me? I wanted him to die.
I like how JJ has said that he is dead in episode 7.
Yes. Thank you, J.J. Abrams.
Did you know the scene when they're having they've called the Senate together and everything like that, and they have all the different alien races? E.T. is one of them.
Yes.
That's just so awesome.
I thought that was a cool nod.
Yeah.
And that was like in Star Trek, the first one, back in 2009. In one of the battle scenes, there's a R2-D2 floating through space.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah,
Cool.
I saw that.
I'm like, oh, that's pretty awesome.
Now, going off of the third movie and going into the CGI animated TV show, which I don't think you've seen at all, or if very little.
I've seen just a couple episodes.
I think that the Clone Wars CGI TV show would have been much better than the entire prequel trilogy altogether. Because one of the biggest things for me in the prequel trilogy and the show is the fact that in the third movie, the Jedi Council flat out refuses to give Anakin a Padawan learner, and in the show, they just give him a Padawan. And the fact for me that they don't reference that, or that George Lucas would just contradict his own movie, is just befuddling to me, because it just confuses me greatly. But still, that shows the best thing to come from the prequels. Have either of you seen much of it?
Only a couple episodes. I never watched it because it never made sense. Because all of a sudden you're bringing in all these other Siths and all these other Jedis, which never show up in A New Hope or never talked about or anything. And, well, actually it's between, never mind, it's between episode 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Which are never mentioned in 3. So it's kind of like, I never saw the point in watching it. I only saw a couple episodes. Which one was it? They ended up seeking out like a few former stormtroopers on whichever planet they were, and they ended up hunting some giant worm thing that was underground.
Oh, that's Star Wars Rebels, the new TV show. Yeah. I like
whichever show that is. I don't know the difference between the shows that are out. I'm like, I haven't watched them enough or anything. I'm going to assume it's based off of all the same series or something.
Yeah, the new show that's out right now, Star Wars Rebels, is basically 5 years before Episode 4. So I'm hoping that they either kill off the entire cast or do something, because you don't see any of those characters in the original trilogy.
Yeah.
But
and it was supposed to be all the Jedi were supposed to be dead except for Yoda. So
Yeah.
it didn't really make sense.
I think that the idea for Disney and Lucasfilm to just restart the entire Star Wars universe, their expanded universe, it's probably gonna bite them in the butt pretty soon, because you have people who've grew up reading the books, the older books, the expanded universe, and then you have the newer generation reading these new books, watching the new shows, and it's just probably gonna confuse people even more, especially with the new movie coming out. So I think that's probably gonna bite them in the butt, but
I don't know that it will. I mean, I'm a fan of all the books that were written and stuff, and even like the Old Republic. I love the Old Republic. I want them to do the Old Republic. I really do. But I don't think it's going to confuse anybody really. I mean, look at comics, for example.
Yeah.
You have so many different story arcs and everything where, I mean, okay, if you're a casual fan and you've never read the books or anything like that, and then you come in and you see these different stories, you're going to be confused when you start. But if you're more of a casual fan, somebody who knows a little bit, you won't get so confused. But if you're an avid fan, you're definitely not getting confused because you know your way around the whole the whole universe.
Yeah, people who just watch the movies just know what they've seen from the movies. So
yeah, if they like them and then they pick up a book, they will be confused. But other people will be like, okay, yeah, I get it. The thing that I think that may possibly hurt them is because of how big the fan base is of the expanded universe that's already in place.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Because you have all the fanboys online and they will rage. Fanboys will rage.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
We all know. I think we've all been there before. We've all raged against something.
Yep.
But I don't think it'll hurt them too much, because there are more fans that are just casual moviegoers than there are people who really like the product and really want to get into it. So
I do still like that Disney and Lucasfilm is able to actually pull things from the expanded universe books. I'm hoping they bring in Thrawn. I just finished the first book, The Wrath of Thrawn. Loved it. I think Thrawn was too OP, but that's just me. I hope they bring him in sometime, but I think I like the expanded universe, the original book series, better than this new series that we're getting now. The only one I like from the new canon would have to be Lords of the Sith. That's the one I like the best, because it gives us more of a perspective and more in-depth relationship between Vader and the Emperor. They're on this downed planet, and they have to fend themselves off against rebels.
yeah, I haven't read. Excuse me, I haven't read any of the new stuff. It's been a while since I read any of the old stuff, but I always read the stuff that came like afterward. Everything. I'm interested to see what they're gonna do with the whole series, because you have to assume that Han and Leia have kids.
Yeah, you gotta go that route.
You gotta assume that. So I know there are rumors out right now about who they may be, but I'm staying away from the rumors right now. I want to watch the movie and see it for myself. I haven't watched any of the new trailers or TV spots or anything. I was like, okay, I'm too excited for this movie. I don't want it to do a Batman v Superman thing.
Little over a week until the movie comes out.
So I can wait.
You must have to skip around a lot to avoid all those trailers.
Yeah.
Because it's like it was every other week recently where you were getting something new. It's like this is the final trailer, and then next week you get another 2-minute clip.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I just stayed away from it all. I haven't really been on any sites or anything.
There you
It's
go.
like, I'm gonna stay away right now because I really want to see this and enjoy it.
And hopefully all the clips and trailers we've gotten so far are just from the first act, or maybe even somewhat into the second act. Hopefully.
Yeah, because they're already filming episode 8.
Yeah. And Rogue One as well.
Yeah. Rogue One sounds interesting.
Yeah,
I'm
finally
interested to see
getting Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
It's before Episode 4. It's most likely going to be them trying to get the Death Star plans and getting them to the princess.
I just hope they don't do it to where it ends up turning out like a Battlestar Galactica type thing. I hated that movie. I hated it so much. Well, let's see. I hated the original TV series and movie that came out at the same time as Star Wars, the ones that got canceled. Mm-hmm. There's a reason they got canceled. They weren't that good. Now, the newer ones, those were a little bit better.
Yeah.
But the original ones I hated.
Another thing I thought of, one of possibly the worst things that Star Wars could have done with their new canon series. In the comic books, the Star Wars comic book, they gave Han a wife.
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
No.
like he already had a wife.
Yeah.
I heard something like that.
And I think that's probably a lot of setup for Episode 7.
It could be, especially with the rumors.
Yeah.
I just don't like the fact that he previously had a wife in Episode 4.
Yeah, it didn't make sense because you'd think it would be mentioned or something, you know.
Chewie would have said something.
Yeah. With the...
Or Lando, even.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, because Lando knew him previously, so... I mean, that would have... Okay, they could have added an interesting dynamic there with Lando being like, okay, now Lando's married to his wife, his old wife or whatever, so that would have been an interesting
yeah.
thing
That would have been much
But
better.
now it's like, I don't know, but if they pull something like that, they'd be like, huh, that's why you guys are always like that toward each other now. It's not just about the ship.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
Yeah.
In this next movie, if all of a sudden, it's like Leia and Han go over to Lando's house for dinner.
Yeah.
And she's there to be like, whoa, this is weird.
Yeah.
And then, Han has to introduce her as his ex-wife, and Lando's like, oh, really? And Leia's like, oh, you are a scruffy nerf herder.
Yeah, with the introduction of his canonical wife, now seeing him in Episode 4 just makes him a womanizer.
But what if they were already split up? I don't know
If they were already split up, then I can deal with it.
Yeah, Han's a scoundrel, but I don't think he's a cheater.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think if they do it canon-wise, I think, well, if they're building this in canon, I don't think they're going to leave him where he's still married to her come Episode 4 or whatever. I don't even know if it is or not. But it doesn't make sense that they would still be.
Maybe that's why he was making the Kessel run, to get away from her.
Maybe.
Yeah. She could be crazy.
Yeah.
It could be another thing.
What if she ended up working for the Empire?
That would have been interesting.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
She's like head of their HR.
One more thing before the final topic. We got a new Star Wars game, Star Wars Battlefront. It's the third Battlefront game, ain't it?
Yes. It was the third one.
And I've heard a lot of mixed reviews. The reviews that I've heard that were negative towards it are mostly because you actually have to pay $120-some for the entire game. The expansion pack, the DLC, the stuff that you actually want to play, the Battle of Jakku, is $60. I think that's just ludicrous. EA should not have done that. What did you think of when you first heard of the game, Chris?
It's Call of Duty with a new coat of paint. That's all it is. I mean, I love the first two Battlefront games. But when I saw this one and I saw who's putting it out, I believe it's Activision. Or was that Infinity Ward helped them put out? I think it was Infinity Ward that helped put it out. Both Activision and Infinity Ward put out the Call of Duty games. So EAO had one of the two studios help them put it out. And that's exactly what it was. It was Call of Duty with a new coat of paint on it. And it's played the same way and everything. So outside of you got your heroes or whatever, like you got Luke, Han, Leia, Darth Vader running around. That's about it. That's the big difference. Other than that, it's a giant multiplayer platform game, which I'm really not interested in playing.
Basically, it's just a multiplayer game. I heard that there's maybe only 45 minutes to an hour of actual campaign in it. So,
wow.
I was really really upset when I heard this news because I really wanted to play the game. I was really hoping it was going to be a good game.
Well, the originals didn't really have much of a campaign either. It was basically a multiplayer, but you could play the multiplayer by yourself. You could set up a game and play by yourself. This one, you have to be online playing with somebody, which is like, I don't necessarily want to do that because I don't want to jump into the middle of a game, which I've never played before, and just get my butt handed to me on a platter. Here you go. Now you need to play 200 hours a week just like the rest of us to catch up and, you know, be as good as we are. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, I'm really hoping that Star Wars does pull from their games and create a Old Republic TV show or movies.
And a new game.
Yes, new game.
Not the one that's online.
Yeah.
Played a little bit of that, but I'm tired of the MMO part of it. Like,
yeah, and the Knights of the Fallen Empire just doesn't look too appealing to me. That's a new part of the Old Republic game, I think.
I mean, it's not bad. It's not a bad idea or concept or anything. The story's actually pretty decent.
It is.
But
still, you have to be online for hours on end.
Yeah. And then the thing is, I mean, the graphics are poor. All the MMO going on. I'm just like, here,
all these noobs.
EA Studios is putting out all these other games right now. They're working on Mass Effect, Andromeda, and they already put out Dragon Age Inquisition or Inquisitor. And so, where's our next Star Wars RPG?
And I heard that
that's what I'm waiting for. And
I heard that the Star Wars game 1313 isn't completely canceled. I heard they're still trying to move forward with that. That's supposed to be the underworld side of Coruscant, the bounty hunter type game.
Huh, that'd be interesting.
Now,
I'd just scrap it and make it an RPG. There you go. Do whatever you want.
I actually heard that they're thinking of making a Netflix Star Wars show.
That would be interesting.
You can see that. They already have the Marvel TV shows, and Disney owns Marvel. There's already a deal in place.
Disney owns everything cool. Yeah.
This could go really wrong.
Yeah.
It's on the borderline.
So, now let's get on to our final topic, Star Wars The Force Awakens. It has a runtime of a little over 2 hours, and we know absolutely nothing of this movie. JJ hasn't given us a lick of plot, a lick of synopsis or spoilers, which I like. I like that he's going the Star Trek Into Darkness way.
That's the way it should be.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
I like that Luke has not been on any of the posters.
Yes.
Any of the trailers. It's got that mystery about itself, like what is going on, where's Luke at?
Yep.
I think that he could possibly be a dark Jedi, or at least recovering from having gone to the dark side some 30 or 20 years ago, because it is set 30 years after episode 6. So, what are you guys' speculations? What would you guys like to see possibly happen in episode 7, since we are only a week away?
More family drama? I
No.
got a feeling there's going to be family drama somewhere in there.
No more sibling kissing.
No, not that, no.
No.
No, but I got a feeling somebody's related to somebody going forward in this movie, because especially with with that whole sequence about, you know, I have it, my sister has it, now you have it. It's like, huh.
Yeah.
Well, that was actually just pulled from the episode 6, and they had Mark Hamill from Now just redubbed that in the background, so I don't think that's actually going to be in the movie.
Well, whether it's
but
in
it's
the movie
nice.
or not, I think it's still referring to something. I mean, I don't think you would have put it in the trailer if you weren't referring to something.
I think we're definitely going to get maybe 1 or 2 more Force users in this movie.
Yeah.
I think.
Which, I'm almost going to guess that it may be Han and Leia's kids.
Yeah.
They actually show up in the movie.
Hopefully, yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. It could possibly be Kylo Ren and, what's her name, Rey?
Rey, yeah. That's what everyone's speculating, that they're Han and Leia's kids.
I wouldn't mind seeing Mara Jade at the end.
Oh,
I would
yeah.
love to see her in it.
Yes.
See, when I found out that that they weren't keeping the canon but changing it, I was so mad because she wasn't.
Yeah.
I was like, I hope they bring her in.
Yeah.
She was always one of my favorite characters.
Nothing says that they can't bring them in.
Yeah.
It's just the history that you've been given may not count.
Yeah. That's one thing I hope that they do later on also.
I'll tell you one thing though about the trailers. It was phenomenal when they showed all the wreckage
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
of the Star Destroyers. I'm like, this is like a Empire graveyard.
Yeah, that Jakku scene was pretty cool.
I loved watching the trailer because it took me back to the first time I ever watched Star Wars. It made me forget all about
The
the
prequels.
prequels and how CG they were because this looked realistic.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh wow,
They've
I can't wait to see this movie.
about 75 to 90% of the movie is practical effects. You got an actual full-size Millennium Falcon in the movie.
BB-08.
Yeah.
That's gonna be the star of the show. I guarantee it.
Yeah,
Maybe.
most likely. There's your
There's your new R2-D2.
well, there's their meal ticket right there.
Yeah.
That one's gonna be the merchandise.
Yep.
Now, I've heard a lot of things about this Snoke character, the one that Andy Serkis is playing. I've heard a lot of rumors that he possibly could be Darth Plagueis reincarnated. Any thoughts on that?
Huh.
Because he's supposed to be roughly about 30 feet tall. He's completely CGI, and he's pretty symmetrical, is what the story said on, I think, Empire. So I know that Darth Plagueis, his species was Mune, so I think they're pretty tall there with the banking clan in the Star Wars universe, so I think they're pretty tall. So it would make sense that it would be Darth Plagueis.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
Because you do have to have a Sith Lord.
Yeah.
Or Master, or whatever you want to call him.
A new Emperor.
Because I don't know about the rumors, whether they're true or not, about Kylo Ren not being a Sith Lord, or actually being a Sith, but I don't know, he looks like a Sith to me.
He does.
You know, when you watch the trailer, it's like, he looks like a Sith to me.
And still, that crossbow laser.
Yep. And it's like, I thought you couldn't have a lightsaber, build a lightsaber, unless you had the Force. You know?
Well, he clearly has the Force.
Yeah. So, I don't know. But there has to be somebody behind it all, you know.
Yep.
And I like that in the trailers, when you see the new First Order stormtroopers and the new First Order banner, it definitely looks a lot like the Nazis. I like that they're keeping that symbolism where the Empire are the Nazis.
Yeah. I like the scale that they used in it, because in the original movies, when it was made, you couldn't really show the grand scale of how big the Empire was. You couldn't really show it. Well, they really do a very good job of it in prequels. But in this one, when you have the scene where they're all standing there, and then he looks out and it has all the troops, well, that shows you the grand scale of this new order. And it's like, oh wow, that's a pretty formidable force.
Yep. Recruiting is up.
Alright, so that's it for our all Star Wars talk. Let us know what you guys thought in the comments down below. I'm sorry this has been a little long, but still, it's all Star Wars, so it has to be long. Once again, this is Earl, I'm Josh, and that's Chris. Let us know what you guys thought in the comments down below, and if you liked the video, hit the like button over there, and we'll see you guys next time on America's Heroes. Later.